There is a quiet discomfort many people feel today, but rarely name. It shows up when you open an app, scroll through endless lives, and notice how loud everything feels. So many voices, so many images, so many moments competing to be seen. And somewhere in that noise, a subtle question forms inside you. What does it mean if you don't want to join in? What does it say about you if you watch, but rarely speak, observe, but don't announce your presence? This question isn't about social media alone. It's about identity, safety, and the deep human need to exist without constantly explaining yourself. In a world that rewards visibility, choosing silence can feel almost unnatural. We've been conditioned to believe that expression must be public to be real, that if something mattered, it would be shared. But psychology tells a more complex story. Some people don't withdraw from posting because they lack something, but because they are protecting something. Their inner world, their emotional balance, their sense of ownership over their experiences. For them, silence is not absence, it is intention. When you stop posting, something interesting happens in the mind. The constant background pressure to perform begins to loosen. You no longer evaluate moments based on how they might look to others. You start feeling them from the inside instead of observing yourself from the outside. This shift is subtle but powerful. It moves a person from external validation toward internal grounding. Instead of asking, "How will this be received?" the question becomes, "How does this feel to me?" Many people don't realize how much mental energy goes into being visible. Every shared moment carries a silent negotiation with judgment, comparison, and misunderstanding. Even positive feedback trains the brain to seek more of it. Over time, this creates a loop where self-worth becomes entangled with reaction. Some people sense this happening within themselves and step back before it takes over. Their silence is not rejection of connection. It's an attempt to preserve clarity. There is also a deep emotional intelligence behind choosing not to broadcast your life. It requires awareness to notice when sharing begins to distort living, when moments start feeling staged instead of sincere, when joy feels incomplete unless it's acknowledged. Stepping away interrupts that pattern. It allows emotions to exist without being shaped for an audience. Happiness becomes quieter. Sadness becomes more honest. Nothing needs to be justified. Psychologically, this often reflects a strong internal sense of self. When a person knows who they are without needing constant feedback, they can tolerate being unseen. They don't confuse silence with insignificance. Their identity is not built in reaction to attention, but in private reflection, lived experience, and emotional consistency. This doesn't make them superior, it makes them anchored. At the same time, silence online can be misunderstood. Others may assume disinterest, coldness, or detachment. But inner silence and inner emptiness are not the same thing. Often, the people who share the least are processing the most. Their minds are full, not blank. They notice details others miss because they're not distracted by the need to document. They are present in conversations. They listen more than they perform. And presence, psychologically, is one of the deepest forms of connection. There is also an element of emotional protection involved. Visibility comes with vulnerability, and not everyone feels safe being vulnerable in public spaces shaped by quick judgment and shallow interpretation. For some, not posting is a boundary, a way of saying, "Not everything about me is available for consumption." This boundary helps them maintain emotional stability and reduces the anxiety that comes from constant self-monitoring. Over time, living without broadcasting can change how someone experiences life itself. Time feels slower. Moments feel fuller. Achievements feel personal rather than comparative. Relationships feel more grounded because they're not mediated through updates and signals. Instead of being reminded of your existence through posts, people reach out because they genuinely think of you. That kind of connection feels different. It feels earned. And yet, even for those who choose silence intentionally, doubt can creep in. There are moments when invisibility feels like falling behind, when the mind wonders if absence equals irrelevance. This is where the deepest psychological shift happens. You begin to learn that your worth does not fluctuate with attention, that meaning does not require witnesses, that some of the most important transformations happen quietly, without applause. This is where silence stops being a reaction and becomes a choice. A calm, grounded decision to live from the inside out. Not as a refusal of the world, but as a return to yourself. And once that return begins, something changes in how you see everything else. As this way of living settles in, a person often discovers something unexpected. Silence creates space. And in that space, thoughts that were once drowned out begin to surface. Old questions return. What actually matters to me? What am I chasing? And why? Without the constant mirror of other people's lives reflecting back at you, your inner compass grows stronger. You start making choices based less on comparison and more on alignment. Psychologically, this is a shift from reactive living to intentional living, and it changes everything. There is a reason this feels unfamiliar at first. The modern mind has been trained to equate attention with existence. To be seen feels like proof of being real. So when you step away, the nervous system may initially protest. It can feel like you're disappearing. But over time, another feeling replaces that fear. Relief. The relief of not having to curate yourself, not having to compress complex emotions into something easily digestible, not having to explain who you are before you've even understood it yourself. People who live this way often develop a quieter confidence, not the kind that announces itself, but the kind that stays steady regardless of circumstances. Their sense of self doesn't spike with praise or collapse with silence. It remains consistent. This stability is deeply psychological. It comes from knowing that your identity is not a performance, but a process, something that evolves privately, through lived experience rather than public approval. There is also a subtle grief that can surface when you stop posting, a realization of how much of your life was once filtered through imagined reactions. How many moments were half-lived because part of you was already thinking about how they would be perceived. Letting go of that can feel like losing something familiar. But what you gain is far more profound. You gain ownership over your attention. And attention is where your life actually happens. From this place, emotions feel more grounded. Joy doesn't rush to announce itself. Sadness doesn't feel pressured to be masked or explained. You give yourself permission to experience without translating. Psychologically, this deepens emotional regulation. Feelings are processed rather than displayed. They move through you instead of getting stuck in the need for validation. Interestingly, this often changes how you relate to others. Conversations become richer. Listening becomes easier. You're not thinking about what to say next or how to present yourself. You're simply there, fully. People sense this presence even if they can't name it. It creates a different kind of connection, one that feels safe, undemanding, and real. At some point, a realization quietly forms. The most meaningful parts of life were never meant to be witnessed by everyone. Growth happens in silence. Healing happens away from the spotlight. Identity forms when no one is watching. When you understand this, the fear of being unseen loses its grip. You begin to trust that your life has value even when it leaves no digital trace. This doesn't mean isolation. It means selectivity. Choosing depth over display. Choosing intimacy over exposure. It means sharing yourself with people, not platforms. And psychologically, this protects something fragile and essential. Your sense of self as something lived, not consumed. As the noise fades, another truth becomes clear. You were never meant to be constantly visible. The human nervous system was not designed for endless comparison or perpetual self-presentation. Rest comes when you step out of that cycle, when you allow yourself to exist without commentary, without evidence, without proof. And maybe this is the quiet lesson behind choosing not to post, that life does not ask to be documented to be meaningful. That presence is enough. That being deeply engaged with your own experience is a form of richness no algorithm can measure. When you no longer feel the need to show the world who you are, you finally have the space to become that person fully. With time, this way of being begins to feel less like a decision and more like a natural rhythm. You stop thinking of silence as something you're doing and start experiencing it as something you are. There's a steadiness that grows when your inner life is no longer constantly interrupted by the need to be seen. Your thoughts deepen, your emotions settle. You begin to trust your own experience without needing it to be reflected back to you. This is where a powerful psychological shift occurs. You realize that visibility and connection are not the same thing. Being seen does not guarantee being understood. In fact, true understanding often happens in spaces where there is no audience at all. It happens in private conversations, in shared stillness, in moments that would lose their meaning if exposed. The mind begins to associate intimacy with presence rather than exposure. And this changes how you define closeness. There is also a strengthening of personal boundaries. When you stop offering constant access to your life, you regain control over what you share and with whom. This isn't secrecy, it's discernment. Psychologically, healthy boundaries are a sign of self-respect. They protect emotional energy and prevent the slow erosion that comes from overexposure. You begin to feel more whole because less of you is scattered across opinions and interpretations that were never yours to carry. At a deeper level, silence allows identity to mature. Instead of reacting to trends, expectations, or comparisons, you respond to your own values. You become less concerned with how your life appears and more invested in how it feels. This creates congruence between your inner and outer world. You are no longer performing a version of yourself. You are inhabiting it. And that alignment brings a quiet sense of peace that doesn't depend on circumstance. Eventually, you may notice something surprising. Your life starts to feel richer, not poorer, without constant sharing. Moments linger longer. Achievements feel personal and complete on their own. Even pain carries a different quality. It becomes something you move through privately, with compassion, instead of something you feel pressured to explain or justify. This private processing strengthens emotional resilience and deepens self-trust. From the outside, this life may look simple, even empty, but inside it is full of reflection, full of presence, full of meaning that doesn't need to be translated. The people who live this way are not hiding from the world. They are choosing to meet it on their own terms. They understand that not everything valuable needs an audience, and not everything meaningful benefits from being shared. And this is the realization that stays with you. You were never meant to turn your life into proof of existence. Your worth does not increase when it is noticed, and it does not disappear when it is ignored. You are real in your quiet moments. You are whole when no one is watching. In a world that constantly asks you to display yourself, choosing to live deeply instead becomes an act of psychological freedom. This is not about rejecting connection. It's about remembering that the deepest connection you will ever have is with your own inner life. When that connection is strong, silence stops feeling empty. It feels honest. And in that honesty, something rare emerges. A life that is lived, not performed. A self that exists without explanation. And a calm understanding that you don't need to be seen to be real.